Today is Monday, June 1st, and just a week ago, on Monday, May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was murdered in the street by a white police officer, and George Floyd is black. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The murder of George Floyd happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on 38th and Chicago, where I grew up and frequented often as a kid and as a high schooler. Yeah, it's close to home. And it happened, and a lot of things have transpired since then. I have been working for Twin Cities Public Television over the past several years, and also PBS Public Broadcasting System, Public Broadcasting Service. And the work that I've done with them has been reporting on, objectively reporting on the U.S. Political systems and civic engagement in general. And right now, since George Floyd's death, TPT and PBS have said little to nothing about it. And Saturday, I filmed a statement about how I feel about that. And then Sunday, yesterday, I posted it. And I don't want to be here right now. I don't want to be recording this. I don't want to have to say this. And I don't want to have to feel this. And I told my employers, if this is, not going to work out, then so be it. And it was brought to my attention that PBS may not want to work with me because of my activism. And I asked them what they thought activism was, and it was not about the post that I made. It was the fact that I stood on the Capitol steps and I spoke out on the Capitol steps how I felt about George Floyd and about this country. And I wouldn't have it any other way, and I wouldn't change anything, and I wouldn't it couldn't have been more clear to me. I had a lot of questions, should I do this? Should I be a part of this public, this entity that claims to be for the public? For a long time, and I've had a long history with them that has not. It's gone great, but a lot of it has gotten racially divisive. Just a year ago, Twin Cities Public Television hired me to host a forum about a documentary on college behind bars, and had me speak to First Lady Gwen Walz, the wife of Tim Walz, who's the governor of Minnesota, and. We talked about education, we talked about prison, and then I said, can you talk about education and prison without talking about race? And she said, well, that was implied. And it hurt because I felt set up to be put on a stage with a bunch of white people to talk about education and prison and not talk about the integral socioeconomic force, and not talk about race. There's only so many words I can come up with to really bring it to fruition, and nobody wanted to talk about it, and everybody felt uncomfortable. And then the president of Twin Cities Public Television apologized to Gwen for me asking her about race and making her feel uncomfortable. The moment passed, Tim Walz made a press conference, and that was that. And for them, that was that moment. For me, this is my life. And it's a lot of people's lives. And I don't think I can be black I don't think I can be black and work for TPT at the same time. I don't think I can be black and work for PBS at the same time. And that's what it is. I don't want to wait for the George Floyd documentary by Ken Burns. I don't want to do it. I don't. And I prefer to talk about it right now because we don't have the time. Don't have the time or the life expectancy or the political structure that gives us the space or permission to feel or permission to speak, to wait for public media entities to actually say something. And it hurts because it's silence and it's not talked about. And it's tough because it's so damn just loud and deafening. When you grow up and you get pulled over by the cops for walking. I get pulled over by the cops for jogging once. Got pulled over once. I had a blue bike. They said we're looking for a purple bike. And this just isn't the experience. This clearly isn't the experience of the leaders and the staff at these entities because they're not talking about it. And when they don't talk about it, it creates and projects a world that doesn't have racism in it, which couldn't be further from the truth. It creates this disillusioned reality that racism is this archaic slavery, and we'll talk about it in terms of Jim Crow and Black History Month, and then it just doesn't speak to modern day racism right now, or the modern day racism currently affecting their offices, their people, the white supremacy that is actually within the building, the white fragility, the white guilt that is occurring at PBS and all of these buildings. They're not going to get talked about. And when they don't get talked about, you project this world that has no racism in it, or this world where it's comfortable for white people to interact with it because they can look at racism as this archaic idea that we're not part of anymore because there's no slaves here. And so it's tough because you're walking around and you're doing a show about civic engagement, but what are you engaging with? I mean, if I can't be on the steps and speak to the people, then what am I engaging with? Well, I'm engaging with the silence of major public media entities that refuse to say anything about a modern day lynching on 38th in Chicago. And I just refuse to be a part of it. Now, it would be easy for me to say, I'm not going to be a part of this. I refuse to work with TPT and PBS. And I think that would make it easy on you guys. And I don't want to do that. What I'm going to say is that this is a refusal to work until you do better. And I'm gonna make my therapist proud and just draw a healthy boundary here and say, until you do better, I don't want to work with you. And I think a lot of people should start doing that if they can. I'm in a position where I can do that, and not everybody can, but I got to draw that boundary there, and that's where that's got to be. And until y'all do better, I gotta not be a part of what you're doing. And the silence is hurtful, it's painful, and it's disguised as objectivity. And I know you pride yourselves on being objective, but what you're priding yourself on is black pain. Really what it comes down to. You're priding yourself on painting a comfortable story for white people to engage with. And they don't want to get too hot. I had not sat with PBS Digital Studios staff for longer than 48 hours, and I got into an argument with a white guy about race. How did that happen? How does that happen? Clearly they're not ready for the discussion. Clearly they don't want to have the discussion. And I'll ask y'all the same question that I asked all the white people at the the College Behind Bars forum. Do you not talk about race or whiteness because you don't have to or because you don't want to? And please do not tell me it's because you want to be objective, because that is clearly not the case. And it gets dressed up in these PC, well-phrased, no sense of aggression at all or emotion statements, and it's devoid of any culpability. And I think the big word that we've been talking about in this past week is accountability. And I just don't feel or see any of it happening on your end. And I know that you want to hire people of color to get these projects up and lifted, but you're not hiring us for the right reasons. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be tokenized. I don't want to be trialed out to some stage and then be told to not talk about race and then apologize to white people about it because I brought it up. So just from that given history, I know that you guys can do better. And here's the deal. I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't care. I would just quit and walk out and wait for, I don't know, when jobs open up. I don't know, but I care about you guys, and I know that you can do better. And I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't care about you, and I didn't care about your work, and I didn't grow up watching your work. I love some of the documentaries, but racism is not an archaic thing. It's a right now thing, and it's happening in your office right now. Your silence is actually causing pain. It is. And for you, this may just be an event. It may just be a Black History Month. It may just be, well, wait until August and we'll get through all this. But for everybody else, this is our lives. These are black people's lives. This is every day for us, every single day. This is not a Black History Month. This is not a documentary. This is not just a day or a diversity workshop meeting and discussion. This is every day. You need to have your white counterparts sitting down with other white people and talking about whiteness, like right now, yesterday maybe. And for me, I have to draw the line somewhere, and I know that another reason why I'm doing this is to possibly help other black people that are in the same position. This is tough when your employers do this, when they project a world that's unaffected by racism, and you're sitting there like, what world is that? Introduce me to that world. I've never been there before. And so it's tough. And I don't know, I can't tell you really what to do, but this is what I'm doing. And it's hard to respect yourself and be part of a media outlet that doesn't respect you. But they say they respect you. And it kind of like creates this confusion and inner conflict in yourself, and you're like, wait, but they say they respect me, yet they don't talk anything about a man who was just choked out in the street. They like made a repost from PBS NewsHour. You don't need to be breaking news to say something within 48 hours. You don't need to be breaking news to just say something. Call a tragedy a tragedy. That's objective enough, right? Call a rainstorm. Call white supremacy white supremacy. Like, you can actually call things that, and it's subjective. And the really tough part about being black and respecting yourself at the same time in a media company that's projecting these images of racism being archaic and a long forgotten ideology or something like that, and not dealing with it right now, where do you go work? I don't know, and for me, I don't really have the answers to that right now. But when it was brought to my attention that PBS could possibly see me speaking on the Capitol steps as an issue of not working with me, it was simple. I didn't need to know where I was going to work next, and so it was a very simple decision. It shouldn't have to come to that, though. And so for other black people that are working in these situations, it really shouldn't have to come to that. And I think you can hold your employers accountable. You should be able to hold your employers accountable. You should be able to hold every white person that you work with accountable. And you should not have to sacrifice your soul, your health, your image, your self-value, and the love for yourself to walk into these white spaces and do the work. For me, this is the work. And we're just gonna keep rolling and filming at my house and out in the streets and try to get a conversation going and make something of it. And I really wish all the people of color and black people out there that are in positions like I was, the best of luck and the most, I got nothing but love for y'all. I really hope that you're able to, I don't want to say rise above, but I hope that you're able to work through the conditions that really suck when you're in white spaces. And so for PBS and TPT, as I said, I care about y'all, and I really can't wait to see you do better, because I know you can. And this isn't a refusal to work. It's just setting the bar. It's just that you got to do better, and then I can join on. So that's that. And I wish all of y'all the best, and I hope that you really start to have the conversation that should have happened yesterday, that should have happened last year, and should not be apologized for. And yeah, that's it. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you.